I sought an answer, maybe something more profound, but all that I can find in the solitude is sound. Death's fingers stroke the keys so cold. Life fades as a symphony unfolds. The dying sound, how mellow is it yet, as the song of silence birds the sun to set. Weep not for this angel, weary he may be. Death plays this tragic song, waiting to be free. Let him play evermore, the dulcet tones bemoan, for the souls that he carries are yearning to go home. I wrote that while playing a piano today. I don't usually get to touch the ivory keys of a piano, but today was special. It's the middle of the night. For the first time in a very long time, I'm in my normal angelic form. I have on my robes, my hood covers my head from the moonlight, and my wings are folded to my back. My sword rests at my side as I walk down the aisle of this great cathedral, this enormous place of worship and song. The walls themselves seem to carry the sound of heaven. I was here just this morning, but then I was not here for leisure. I was working. There was an old man in the back of the cathedral. He'd had a heart attack. Everyone saw him collapse in the pew, but none remembered the teenage boy who had been sitting beside him one moment and then was gone the next. People only recognize me for the briefest of moments before the real world allows them to pass me by once again. But while I was in the pew with him, I was listening to the music, the organ and the piano specifically. I felt this yearning to come back tonight, to hear it again. Of course, no one is here. No one will be here until early in the morning, and in that time I'll already be off for my other assignments. How much has transpired in this cathedral? I pictured all the sermons that had taken place, the funerals, the weddings. I laughed out loud when I realized I might be walking in the same footsteps of some blushing bride or some groom. For the fun of it, I decided to adopt both forms. The bride in her gorgeous white dress, and the groom in his sharp tuxedo. I don't know what made the image so funny to me, yet I did howl with laughter. Maybe it's because I know that I'll never be either. I'll never be married. I'll never partake in that blessed union. Or maybe it's because I've never looked good in white, and the thought of wearing a gown like that was simply preposterous. I joke, of course. No. In truth, I do like weddings. There's something rather beautiful about them. I don't get to see many, but the rare few I do witness have been lovely. Until I step in, of course. I have a knack for ruining precious things. I don't take pride in that, but it's not exactly a habit I can kick. I also don't get to go to that many funerals, believe it or not. My job is over well before the funeral begins. That isn't to say I've never been to any. I've seen a few. They're depressing spectacles, and if I may be honest, they're somewhat annoying. The things people say, it's just not fair. He was taken before his time. Why him? He had so much more to give and live for. I always feel a little irritated at those lines. They make it sound like what I did was wrong or something, like I had deprived some poor fool of their life when they needed to go on living. I'm sorry, but that's my job. I know that's small comfort, but that's the truth. I'm not here to make light of it or overstate it. It's just the truth of the matter. In any case, I had come back to this cathedral since I had a few minutes to spare and decided to sit at the piano and play. The bench creaked a little as I sat down, and I looked at the keys in front of me. White and worn, but still well cared for. My fingers slid onto them, and with gentleness I began to play. I didn't have any particular theme or musical score in mind, just something I think I'd heard a long time ago. I was playing to play, to hear the soft sounds. My wings unfolded a little as I did. My eyes watered some, so I closed them to let the music play, unimpeded by emotion. Music can do amazing things, you know. For me, it brings out emotion, feeling, and want. I am not an unfeeling creature, but surely you figured this out over the course of this diary, I imagine. And as I sit in this lonely sanctuary, the walls echo and reverb with the sounds of the piano and the nameless song. I can imagine the sound of strings, of the brass, of the percussion, and a chorus to join me. They say not words, but just chant, adding their voice to a melody that I create. For once I do create, not take or destroy. My hands move with more purpose as I let my imagination, the world of a dream, fill the church. And so does the room fill with light and tears that shimmer in my eyes as I bask in the resounding symphony of death. In that moment, I felt the world around me. The universe surrounded me in that fleeting instant. When all was right, I was not death or some detestable reaper in search of souls to harvest. I was merely a part of the music. Does that perhaps imply that I do not like what I am? That I take issue with myself, with my very existence? No, that's not quite right. While I cannot say that I hate myself, I can certainly admit that I'm not fond of my role, and there are indeed times that I wish I were not who I was. That is why I put on many forms. A child bouncing a ball by himself in a park, a young woman sitting in a coffee shop, a mature man on a construction site, an old beggar living out of a cardboard box. I have been all of these. I have assumed all of these shapes, voices, and forms. They do not change what I am or even what I am meant to do, and yet sometimes it's nice to imagine that I'm not about to become the force of nature that is death. In the music, I can lose that discomfort and trepidation. It is something to lose myself in, to forget. But, of course, the song must end. The moment of euphoria fades, and as my fingers hover above the keys, I hear the noises go soft. The sounds drift further away from me, and reality sets back in, reaffirming that the dream is in fact over. All dreams end eventually, I guess. I smiled to myself as I got back up and stepped away from the piano. It had been short, but it had been a fine experience. A pleasant dream. I take my leave of the church and lift myself up and out onto the top of the steeple. I look out at the world and again hear that melody still echoing in my head. I reach for it, but grasp only memories. Have you ever felt that? That feeling that something is right in front of you, or just within your reach, dancing before your eyes, but as you try to grasp it or reach out for it, it just seems to drift away. A memory, a feeling, a desire. That thing that, for the briefest of moments, held the most significance, but now feels beyond you. That happens to me very frequently. So I move on. It's all I can do. I can't be late after all. I can't afford that. I do wonder, though, if when the dawn comes and the church opens, will they hear the resonating music I played? Will the ballad I played leave an impression? There have been many times that, as I wander through a building, town, or even city, my presence is felt long after I've left, and thus the aforementioned building, town, or city is therefore abandoned, leaving nothing but the memory that I was there. I do pray that this doesn't happen to the church. It's a lovely place. I hope that, should they hear my song, if they hear it, they are pleased by it rather than hateful of it. Because I don't mean to cause harm, nor is it my intention to inspire fear or discomfort. clarity. I desire transparency. That who I am and what I do are not always of like mind. What I do is a job, a task, but who I am is not just an ender of life. I am a musician, an artist, a warrior, a poet, a dreamer. I am many more things, and I wish I could convey that better. Perhaps, in future, I will write and share more of these things that I am. For now, though, I have work to get on with. Some woman is about to drink her last bottle of alcohol and waste away in it. I'll meet her there and pluck her from it. At the very least, I have nice music to hum while I walk. Sincerely, Death.